All right, let's go over the homework. So for the sex linked codominance and blood type problems, the first set of problems are for codominance. So this is when the traits or the genes blend. So form a cross between two pink flowered Japanese 4 o'clock plants, which are also called snapdragons. Answer the following questions. So what are the genotypes of the parents? The parents are both pink. So the parents would be RW, both of them. What alleles are produced in the gametes of each parent? When they're making their sperm and their egg or their gametes, they are producing an R and a W for the one parent, and the other parent will also produce an R and a W. So you're going to fill out your Punnett square. So the R and the W for the one parent's gametes will go at the top, and the other parent's letters will go on the left. Your boxes should be RR, RW, RW, and WW. Number 4, what is the expected phenotype ratio of the F1 offspring? If that threw you off, remember that the parents are on the outside, and so the inside is that first generation after them, and so those are the F1. So they're just asking what's inside these boxes. So the expected phenotype would be, well, this box is going to be red, and there's only one of those, so 25% red. And then you have these two boxes, which are RW, which is pink, so 50% pink. And this last box is WW, which is white, 25% white. All right, and then what's the expected genotype ratio of the F1 offspring? You would write out 25% RR, 50% RW, and 25% WW. Make sure you write it out with the letters. All right, I'm going to grade the second problem here with a pink versus or mating with a red snapdragon. So I am grading questions 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. All right, moving on to another codominance problem, but this time it is in tail length. So you should have figured out that long tails would be LL. Okay, both are caps. And it says short tails are S's. So SS is going to represent your short. So obviously if you get one of each letter, an LS, those are going to blend, which would be a medium tail. So cross a medium length tailed cat, medium would be LS, that's the genotype, and the long-tailed cat would be LL. What alleles are produced in the gametes of each parent? The first parent was L and S. The second parent is L and L. Okay, you're going to do your Punnett square. LS, I'm going to put at the top. I'm going to put my LL on the left. My first box is LL. My second box is LS. My third box is LL. My fourth box is LS. What is the expected phenotype ratio of the F1 offspring? Phenotype, so 50%, there's two boxes here that are LL. So 50% of their cats are going to be long tail length, and half of them are LS, which is medium. 50% medium tail length. You can just write medium, that's fine. What's the expected genotype ratio? So you're going to get 50% LL and 50% LS. All right, let's do this next one. Cross a short-tailed cat, that's SS, with a medium-tailed cat, which is LS. What alleles are produced in the gametes of each parent? S and S for the short parent, and L and S for the second parent. Do your Punnett square. Sorry, my Punnett squares are messy. SS and LS, 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 SS, SS. My printer has this weird. Next question is phenotype ratio for the F1 offspring. Let's just do this. Here we go. You would get phenotype. So 50% of LS, so that's medium, and 50% short. Genotype would be 50% LS, right? Looking at the boxes, 2 out of 4, and 50% SS. All right, and that finishes up codominance. Okay, Next section is we have sex-linked problems. So in fruit flies, red eye color, and you can see that big R there, is dominant over white eye color, which would be the little r. And the trait is sex-linked. So when you're crossing them, you're going to be using X's and XY, right? Male and a female. What genotypes and phenotypes are possible? So you're going to need a genotype list and a phenotype list, okay? From a cross between a red-eyed male. So my male is here on the left. He is red-eyed, which is dominant, so you're going to put a big R on that X. And the female is heterozygous, so that is X big R, X little r. So my first box is X big R, X big R. Second box is X big R, X little r. Third box is X big R, Y. Fourth box is X little r, Y. For genotype ratios, each of these are different. So it's going to be 25% of my first one, which is X big R, X big R. 25% of the second box, which is X big R, X little r. 25% of my third box, which is X big R, Y. And 25% of my last box, which is X little r, Y. Okay. For phenotype, you're looking to see, are they either red eye or the recessive, which is white eye. If you don't remember what that is, just go back to the problem. And it says it in the first sentence. So how many have the big R and how many do not have the big R? So if you look at your boxes, 1, 2, 3 out of my 4 boxes have the big R. So that's going to be 75% of their flies will have red eyes. And there's only this one box on the bottom, which is going to have white eyes. It did not ask you to distinguish between male and female for the question, so you don't need to. So it would be 75% red and 25% white. Next problem is on color blindness. Instead of R's, we're going to use C's for color blindness. Color blindness is recessive to normal vision. Normal vision is a big C, and a little c would be for colorblind. This is a sex-linked problem, so you're going to be crossing a female with a male. They say it's sex-linked. Two parents with normal vision. So normal vision means they have a big C. So the dad definitely has a big C. I'm going to make that C as large as I can. The mom's first X has a big C. That makes her have color vision. We don't know what this other X is yet. So let's read it. Two parents with normal vision have a colorblind son. So if you do the Y part, this one is X big C Y. That's a normal son. But they end up having a son who's colorblind. So that tells you right here, and you should have figured out, that this has to be a little c. And so if that's a little c, that's the only way they're going to get a colorblind son. So that's what you needed to do. So this is X big C, so finish the problem. X big C, X little c. All right, so show how this is possible. I just did that by completing the Punnett square. And then there's a question. What is the probability that their next child will be a colorblind daughter? So you're only looking at the daughters. And how many are going to be colorblind would be 2 little C's for a girl. And neither one of them have 2 little C's. They're both going to be fine with their color. So the answer is 0%. Okay. All right, moving on to 23. 23 is sex-linked problems. Make sure you're using X's and Y's. I'm going to grade that one, and you should be using H's on your X's. Same thing for 24. It is a hemophilia problem. All right, but we're going to do number 25 together on baldness. Another baldness one. Okay, so we have a sex-linked problem, which means we're crossing a girl. Sorry if this is really jumpy. And a male. Baldness is recessive, it says, and sex-linked. If a bald man, so he is X little by, he marries a homozygous non-balded woman, so she is X big B, X big B. So now I'm going to do my cross. Both of my girls are heterozygous, or carriers, we call them in sex-linked problems. And both of my boys, possibilities, are non-bald. They both have a big B. So let's answer the question. What is the chance that their boys will be bald? Well, if you look at only the boys, like if you cover up the girls, only the boys, none of them. All their boys are going to be fine. So the chance is 0%. Okay. Moving on to 26, another bald problem here, and then we'll get into blood typing. So last one for blood type, or for sex linked, XXXY. All right, a heterozygous balded woman, so she's X big B, X little b, marries a guy with a full head of hair, so he's X big B, Y. So X big B, X big B, X big B, X little b. X big B, Y, X little b, Y. They want the genotype list and the phenotype list. Genotype list, first box is X big B, X big B. There's only one of those, so 25% X big B, X big B. 25% of the other one, X big B, X little b. 25% of the next one, X big B, Y, and 25% of X little b, Y. All right, sorry. For phenotype, how many of them have, how many are going to be non-bald, I guess you should say, or normal, and then how many are going to be bald? So how many have the big B would be non-bald? 1, 2, 3. So 75% of their kids will be fine. 25% chance that they'll have a bald kid, and it would be a boy chance right there. All right, and that finishes up our sex linked problems. Now we go into blood typing. So for blood typing, we have to use those I's notations from our notes. Determine the possible blood types from the mating of a person who is homozygous blood type A. Homozygous blood type A is IAIA, and a person who is heterozygous blood type B would be IB little I. So I'm going to have IAIB, IAIB, IA little I, IA little I. Question is, list the phenotype and the genotypes ratios for their offspring. Phenotype. So these two kids are going to be blood type AB. So 50% blood type AB. These two kids are blood type A. So 50% A and 50% AB. For genotype, same thing, but it's in genotype form. 50% IA, IB, and 50% IA little I. All right. 28, a man. It doesn't matter that it says man and woman. Don't let that confuse you and think you have to use X's and Y's, okay? This is not a sex-linked problem. It says blood typing, so this is the regular. A man who has blood type O, so he is little I, marries a woman who is heterozygous B, so she is IB little I. So IB little I, IB little I, little I, little I, little I, little I. What are the possibilities of them having children with B-type blood? Well, these two, right? So 50%. That's all you have to do. You do not have to make a list for phenotype and genotype. Just 50%. All right, moving on. 29, your story problem. You have the Does who have a child named Joe, and you have the Wims who had a child named Tim. The Wims took Tim home and said, that's not our kid. And they're going to sue the hospital for the mix-up. So you need to see, was there a mix-up? So you need to do the Wims Punnett squares, and you probably need to do the Does Punnett squares. So for the Wims, they tell you that Mr. Wim was A and Mrs. Wim was A. They don't tell you if they are homozygous or heterozygous. But think about it. If they were homozygous, which is IA, IA, and IA, IA, if both of them are homozygous, all their kids are going to be A. Okay? The Wims had Tim. Tim is O. So is there a way that the Wims could have Tim, who is blood type O? And there is. Because if the Wims were heterozygous, and this is what you're supposed to show, IA little I, IA little I, then right here, right, they can have a child that's blood type O. And you can fill out the rest of this. Right, IA, little I, but this is the point right here. The Wims can have Tim. Tim is blood type O, so that makes sense, okay? But let's check the Does. The Does, Mr. Doe is blood type O, and Mrs. Doe is blood type AB, okay? There's no way, you can visualize it in your head, or just finish a Punnett square if you're not sure. There's no way that the Does can have an O child. There's no way that the Does can have an O. the Does had Joe, who was blood type A, which makes sense. It's right there. So there's no way the Does can have an O child. Okay? So you needed to do a couple Punnett squares to figure that out, and then you would explain your answer. All right? 30 I'm going to grade. 31 I'm going to grade. So make sure you check your answers. Make sure you finish these up. You will be turning them in. But I want to do that last problem for you here. It's a little bit of a trick. It's not hard, but I just want to make sure you guys understand. A type B woman. Is she heterozygous or homozygous? I don't know. Doesn't say. But they give you some information. They say her mom was type O. If her mom was type O, then her mom can only donate a little I to her. That's her two choices. So this lady must be little I, which means heterozygous. And the guy is a type O man. So there we go. That's how you set it up. You would have got IB little I, little I, little I, IB little I, little I, little I. That's what your Punnett square should look like. What will be the possible genotypes and phenotypes of their children? Genotype would be 50% IB little I and 50% little I, 50% blood type B and 50% blood type O. And that finishes up our homework.